Durant pull-up jumper off the rim and in. Oh! And the Thunder win! All right, come on, let's sing the Thunder song.
Wait.
When you hear the sound of thunder, don't you get too scared. Just grab your Thunder buddy and say these magic words.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Thunder Buddies podcast. Special edition. On the phone right now we have Ramona Shelburne from ESPN. Ramona came out with a real nice piece today on the Thunder, the big season ahead, everything kind of surrounding this organization. It's Ramona, you're on the phone. It's going in ESPN the magazine when this week?
Yeah, I think it's on sale October 16th, whatever that day is. But it just posted Monday morning because we roll some of these things out early now. And I think it was kind of funny because I was there a couple of weeks ago, and we ran into each other for Sam Presti's season opening press conference, right?
Yeah.
And it was. I remember thinking like this was the gathering storm. Right?
Yeah.
It was 20 minutes of how's Kevin split, and then at some point Jenny Carlson, is the first one into the fray. Says, so he could leave, right? How you deal with that? I was wondering how long it would take for someone to ask a question that basically it hangs over the franchise, the NBA, and every player in the league going into this season is Kevin Durant could leave.
Yeah,
and every team in the league now has money to go chase him because of the way the new TV money is going to be injected into this salary cap next summer.
Yeah, it dictates so much, as you mentioned. A lot of people around the league that it kind of matters where they go next year. It's kind of a little bit like LeBron when he went to Miami, or even LeBron when he went back to Cleveland. Remember everyone in that free agency was waiting. LeBron decides, and then the floodgates open everywhere else. But what you mentioned right there is kind of interesting because, the free agency in that Sam Presti press conference took about 20 minutes to talk about because although it is that's such a major thing for the NBA, his foot is such a major thing for him and his financial future and just his future as a basketball player. So it's like two combining things, the foot for this season and then the free agency beyond. That kind of circulate this season.
Yeah, it's funny. I've actually had that conversation with a couple of general managers. Like, okay, let's say he re-injures his foot this year. Mm-hmm. What team gives him that max offer? Does he still get that 4-year max? And every single guy that I have asked, every single general manager that I have asked is absolutely. Like, there's, as much as we all say, oh, it's a career-threatening injury if he does it again, like, you have fears of Kevin Durant is that good of a player to where I think if he hurt it again, unless it was something really catastrophic, I don't think it really affects the contract he signs this summer.
Yeah, I don't think it can really, especially when you look. Wes Matthews just got whatever he got with an Achilles, and good two-way guard, but is not even an all-star. So, just the pie in the sky. Think about the Knicks. If they could say, hey, we'll throw this money at an injured Kevin Durant, and if it turns up good, we suddenly have one of the top 3 players in the league. So, but before we get to talking about some of that, as we will, I kind of wanted to talk. You, as you mentioned, you were in Oklahoma City for what, about a week or so?
Yeah, a little over a week.
You're based out of LA. You're from California, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, people always think like if I'm from California, I'm not going to like Oklahoma City. I like Oklahoma City. I always volunteer to go there because I for me trying to do my job, like. I don't have to sit in traffic. I could stay right across the street from the arena.
Yeah.
I like the atmosphere. I think they got a great crowd there. I like the people in Oklahoma. I stayed at the Ambassador Hotel, which was right in Midtown, and they got the waffle champion and some good restaurants over there. I was like, this is all right. People were like, oh, I can't believe you spent a week there. And I was like, yeah, this is all right. Great,
Yeah, you came to work, and this is a pretty. That's what I've always even said about NBA players. This is a good place to work because, as you mentioned, there's not the stresses of traffic, which is like, when am I going to be able to be there in a half hour? You know exactly like how much time it takes to get places. It's a slower atmosphere. There's less nightlife. For a working season, which is what you were doing for a week, and what NBA players are doing during those 5-6 months or whatever. This is it's a good place to sit down and really focus on your job.
It actually brings up something that I wanted to write more about in the story, but the way the magazine goes, you got space constraints and all that. But the way the Thunder built their facility is really set up to foster that. talked to this guy named Paul Rivers, and he's the man with the plan, right? He's the guy who he's very close to Sam Presti, kind of runs the facility. And one of the points he had made to me is like when they built the facility, the thing that they had in their head was consistency. The NBA life is so chaotic. There's so many highs and lows and ups and downs, winning and losing. And you know, at the time, they didn't realize how crazy free agency could be or trade deadline could be. But they wanted the facility to sort of be this beacon of consistency, this beacon of it's a safe place where you can just come to work and be productive. And I felt that when I was there. I mean, a lot of it is like you know, one of the comparisons I made to Paul, I said, it kind of seems a little like the way an Apple designer would think when they're designing their interface for an iPhone or a computer. And he goes, you know, that's a good comparison. He goes, you know, when I think of Apple products, what they're really good at is putting everything you need right in front of you. Like, they know the 4 programs that you're going to need most. They know that you need your phone. They know that you need your mail. They know that you need your music, and they know you need Safari. So those are going to be the 4 icons right there on your dock. That's right in front of you. They know what you need. And in a lot of ways, that's what Paul and Sam Presti and all the people who were involved in designing that facility were thinking about as they designed it. Is we know what you need. You need a training room. You need some place that help you learn to cook, right? I mean, they told me so, like, apparently now they don't just have a chef there. They'd have cooking classes and Mitch Gary's learning how to cook and chop vegetables every day, because that's just as important for these type of guys. Yeah, I mean, in the NBA.
Yeah, they train their chefs how to cook. I believe you pronounce it halal. For when Ennis Cantor got here, you know, he's a real devout Muslim, and you know, they taught their chefs how to do that. But you know, you mentioned the facility. It's a good point. I mean, it is so you know, well maintenance too, and you know, they always, if you walk in for practice or if you walk anywhere around the facility, there's like never even a spot that's dirty there. It's they have mini fridges with these little like waters and Gatorades and whatever. If you take one out, if a player takes one out, like it is like almost immediately filled back up. It's just you actually, I mean, I thought you kind of had a funny. We were talking about it when you were back here, and you know, you had obviously been around the organization a little bit, and you're like, you know, you could tell how good the structure is, but it kind of makes me want to just go back to my hotel room and just, you know, toss some stuff around and get it a little bit dirty. I mean, but it's what makes them good, but it's a really interesting aspect to the organization.
Well, I'll tell you this, like, I'm from LA and I'm a crazy writer, and, you know, when I'm in my process, like, I need to, you know, play music and walk around and make a mess in my room or whatever it is. And so there was a part of me that's like everything about the place that I did all day long, where I was talking to people and reporting stories, was like so spick and span and so well manicured and well done. And it's like this is how you should be to have a productive work environment. And it was so healthy and it was so wonderful. And there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, part of me wants to just go have a Big Mac right now.
Yeah.
Right? Not everybody can handle being really perfect all the time. Not everyone can. Like, there's a part of you that wants to zig and zag outside the lines a little bit. And I actually said that to Sam Presti at one point. I was like, Sam, when's the last time you went through a drive-thru? And he really couldn't think of it, right?
Yeah.
When's the last time you went to Brahms, right? he really couldn't think of it. I think part of it is that, you know, he knows that you want people to follow your lead on you know, wellness and health, and you got to take the lead, right? You've got to live it. So, you know, when we went out to eat, we went to Whole Foods, or, you know, we went to the steak restaurant. But, you know, I do think, though, there is something. I said, come on, you got to have fun sometimes. He told me a story about, well, I guess a couple of years ago, Russell Westbrook was wearing sort of his loud pants outfits, and they were getting fined not fined, but warned by the league, like, hey, you got to stay within this dress code that we got here. And the message wasn't getting through. And so Sam apparently went in and put on all of Russell Westbrook's clothes and showed up and for 20 minutes gave a speech about how we need to follow we need to, you know, adhere to make a better effort to adhere to the dress code. It was like, I mean, just picture Sam Presti and Russell Westbrook's like leather shirt and total straight face the entire time. And like, you know, I asked a couple guys about it. It was like, you know, he has that side of him. It's not like he's not in on the jokes, right? He's a musician.
Yeah.
You know, he listens to Miles Davis. I mean,
he's got a CD.
Drive around town, when we drive around town, he was listening to Sirius XM that set the 90s hip hop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, it's not like it's not like they're robots there, right?
He's a cultured guy, very
cool
smart.
Guy. He's a cultured, cool guy. It's just, they're just set up to be really efficient, really smartly well done, and put everybody in position to do their best work. And it, maybe I'm the one who can't handle it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm like, man, I don't know if I can be it. So perfect all the time, right?
Yeah, I think he understands that that's the strength of this organization. That's where they can kind of make their identity. Where they can't be Miami. They can't just say, hey, look at all this fun, crazy stuff we have. Come here. Or I think Dallas with Mark Cuban. He gets their guys all video games and different stuff, and he's this fun, crazy owner who's loud on the bench. I think Presti realizes, hey, this is our identity. We're just gonna make this incredibly structured environment. They let the players come in, and in a lot of ways, they let the players be who they are. With Westbrook and everything, but they make sure the players know, hey, everything around you is going to remain all for you and structured, and every day you come in exactly how it's going to be. That coach will help you do what you want. That chef will cook that meal for you. That trainer will, he'll take you through your daily workout. And I think that's just what they promote to their guys, and they hope guys like Kevin and Russell, recognize that and realize, do I really want to go elsewhere where there is going to be a bigger city, maybe a little bit more endorsement type opportunity, but it might be a tougher lifestyle to actually win basketball games.
Well, then that brings me to the main point of the story, which is essentially I came into this thinking that, we were going to be writing more about culture and whether it's too stifling or whatever it was. And I didn't get that vibe at all when I was there. That's why I wanted to spend a lot of time there and not just be, a national reporter parachute in 2 or 3 days, look, the old facilities out by the dog food plant, it's like those stories have been done. And I think it's a very simplistic way of looking at the situation, which is essentially, okay, Oklahoma City's in the middle of America. They don't have as many nightclubs as they do in New York or LA. We all do that. We all do that all the time because it's an easy parallel. But Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook are international superstars.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. There was a story that was written last year about the way that they've handled media at Oklahoma City, and I remember thinking to myself, there was a comparison made, Bob Stoops, and it was like, that's not the comparison. Like Bob Stoops is the head football coach of Oklahoma. The people around there, he matters to people in Oklahoma, right? I don't know that he matters to the people in the Philippines.
Oh, no.
I don't know that he matters to the people in China. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook are international superstars who represent brands all over the world. They don't need to go to New York or LA to have a better brand. The way the NBA has changed, and Caron Butler and I talked about this for quite a bit in the story. I don't know how much of it really made it in, but it informs the way I wrote it. Was essentially, Caron had played in LA with Kobe. He played in Miami with Dwayne Wade. He's been all over the place. He played with LeBron. Obviously, he knows the NBA and what it's about. And he was like, it's different now. It used to be, if you played in Cleveland, no one knew your name. You literally have one TV game. Now it's like there's ESPN Cleveland, and you're on national TV more than anyone. So look at the 4 biggest stars in the NBA right now: LeBron James, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, and Kevin Durant. 3 of the 4 are playing small markets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't think that's a coincidence. I think the NBA has fundamentally changed. And I don't know if it's just social media. I don't know if it's the way the national TV deal has now started to reflect. They carry games with personalities, not necessarily with teams. And I know I've seen the ratings. Whenever you have the Lakers and Knicks on, it's going to be a bigger market share because New York or LA are the bigger TV markets. But we've seen now, in terms of player behavior, these guys are going to the teams that they think give them the best chance of winning.
Yeah,
it's not about nightlife. It's not about beaches. It's not about culture. The only guy I can point to who made a choice of city and culture over maybe setup and ability to win was Pau Gasol. That's the one guy that sticks out of my head. Is that, I don't think Pau's going to go to Oklahoma City. I know they had a good impression on him, but this guy likes going to the opera. He likes eating his sushi. He likes, he needs that culture. He needs big city.
Yeah.
And so I kind of thought that's why he didn't choose Thunder.
Yeah, everyone is different, but I mean, to go along with your point about how you could play anywhere and be recognized, in a lot of ways, you don't even have to be a superstar. You just have to be somewhere a superstar is. If you just think about name the Cavaliers bench right now. Dellavedova became a star in the playoffs. Tristan Thompson's going to get paid big because of what happened in the playoffs last year by just being around LeBron, being on that team. But if I said, hey, name the Knicks bench right now, I mean, most people could name like one or two players on the Knicks bench. So, the NBA is so global. You're right. I mean, Kevin Durant went on a European trip this summer, and there were Snapchats and there was crowds following him everywhere he went. So, and
the thing is that's why it is so important that all of these teams next year are going to get that extra $20 million because it used to be you had to sacrifice, you had to go through some lean years in order to create salary cap space to go chase a superstar like Durant. I mean, in 2010, when all those teams lined up for LeBron, I mean, the Knicks had to absolutely gut their roster the year before. It was like, here, you want Zach Randolph? Anybody who made any money, they had to just dump onto another team to create enough salary cap space to go chase LeBron. And, that's how it should have been going into this summer. Like, teams, you should have had to gut your roster. You should have had to dump some salary in order to get into position to have a chance to chase Durant, which, if you do that, then puts you in position, then makes you less desirable as a franchise for a guy like Durant to go to. That was supposed to be the check and the balance, right? When you set up the salary cap, it's a new salary cap after the 2011 lockout. That was the check and the balance. That was supposed to compensate for what happened in 2010. Well, that's all gone. Like, that is completely gone because that TV money is all coming in. And now, every team in the NBA, some teams are so far over the cap they won't have it. So Cleveland won't have that kind of money. Depending on what Golden State does with Harris and Barnes and his extent, they may not have that kind of money. But for the most part, most teams are going to have that kind of money to go chase it. So now, let's look at the Miami Heat.
Yep.
Right? That's a team that really shouldn't have money to go chase Kevin Durant next summer. But because of the way that they set up their team and the way they set up their salary cap, they'll have money to go chase him. I mean, it's just, I think it is complete. And the word, it's a big word. I don't usually like to use it, but it's completely anathema to what the NBA said it wanted in the 2011 lockout, which was simply small market, sustained teams need to have a chance at winning. All the teams, there's plenty of teams that have copied what Oklahoma City has done. Milwaukee, Orlando, Utah, Philadelphia to some extent, although that's like YOLO tanking right there.
Yeah.
Different category, but you can see the blueprint. You can see the DNA there. There's so many teams that have copied the Thunder's model: draft well, develop your players, keep the bench on rookie scale deals. There's so many teams that have copied it, and now because of the way the salary cap is going to change, this is the big test. Can they survive this? Because if Kevin leaves, how do you feel about Russ staying the next year? I mean, it feels like if he leaves, you go from contending every year to rebuilding overnight, and the stakes could not be higher for Oklahoma City or the NBA.
Yeah, along with that, other teams, not only do they have room to get Durant, but now teams that had maybe room to get Durant now have room to get Durant and say, hey, we want to bring do you want to bring another free agent along?
Yeah.
Have your pick, and that's a big deal. Houston's a team that, I think should potentially scare the Thunder as far as they have James Harden, who is his friend, and then they have Daryl Morey, who's very creative with the cap, and he's chasing stars, so that's a team. You mentioned Caron Butler a little bit, and just within that, it's always something that's kind of interests me are these older stars who have come here, Derek Fisher, Caron Butler, and they've left. They've been through so many organizations, but they always really praised the Thunder organization. And I know Caron well. I mean, what did you kind of learn talking to him? I don't know if you talked to Fish or anybody else, but
yeah, I did talk. I spoke to Fish a little bit, but because he's the head coach of the Knicks right now, so a team that potentially will go and chase Kevin Durant this summer. So
not potentially, right?
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
So we had to be real careful about our conversation, and I said to him, I was like, sorry, I know him as a player for so many years, but it was interesting talking to Caron and Derek and those guys because I think it takes a different kind of guy, right? Not every Oklahoma City is not for everyone. Like, as much as you and I can appreciate the fact that, man, you can just really get a lot of work done here. You can stay focused. People are really nice. The city itself really is growing. I mean, it's not what it was 10 years ago. It's really being built up. I feel like that, there's a vibrancy in the air to downtown that I had felt 10 years ago. But I don't think that matters as much to some veterans. I think the difference between Oklahoma City and LA or New York or Miami or those kind of towns is significant, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things I felt like when Monty Williams, I guess, is actually the guy who made this point that the best is he worked for the Spurs and he's come from New Orleans. He's now on the staff there, and he goes, Ramona, he goes, look, I don't need. I'm not hurting for money, right? Like, I'm fine. I've done really well in my career. Like, so all the other stuff matters, right? It's all, Monty's got 4 kids, and the way the organization treats him and his family when he moved here. He showed me a handwritten note from Sam Presti, 3 weeks into his tenure, where he was like, dear Monty, just want to say what a great job you've been doing. I mean, apparently this is commonplace. The organization really does try to treat people like family, and they really do try to make people feel very welcome and happy there. And I think that kind of stuff goes a long way with players. I mean, even it may be frustrating for you or I because we're trying to get them to talk and open up to it in the locker room, right? But even the way they protect them really from the media, right? They, you do it in a certain way, but it's never too big of an ask. It's never without somebody around if you need them, right? I mean, for you and I, we're like, hey, let me talk to Durant, right?
Yeah.
But I think the players actually like it. I think they
doubt
feel protected and supported there. Now it's not for everyone. You have to keep reminding that.
Yeah.
Like, Reggie Jackson was another guy I talked to, and he's kind of a guy. He actually appreciated a lot of things about it, but at some point when his interest diverged from the team, and you're not, on board fully with everything anymore.
Harden's another example.
Harden's another example. When all of a sudden now you're no longer part of the kinship. Okay, use the Under the Dome reference for people who watch that show. If you're no longer part of the kinship, like, it's not as fun. Okay, it's not. The people in Oklahoma City will kind of recognize you're not necessarily on the same page with them anymore. Organization that recognizes that. There's been a lot of people who have come and gone when either they were deemed sort of not an Oklahoma City type player, or if they just didn't fit salary cap wise, if they didn't justify the spend, right? Jeff Green would be another one. Reggie Jackson would be one. Harden. I mean, all of those. When that happens, it doesn't always fit, and I think you can't. It's I think there's still people who leave and feel good about their experiences there, but there's also people who leave and kind of say, all right, I see things for what it was. Reggie Jackson would probably fall into that category of I think he at one point could see himself playing there his whole career. He speaks of those years that they played in the playoffs. And, he was describing plays to me like, I can't believe I had that turnover. I can't believe he's still lamenting it like it was yesterday. But that is a thin line, and I think that's why I went and called a guy like Dwayne Wade for this story, which is simply like, you can be part of the family, you can be part of the culture, but at the end of the day, the NBA is a business, and it's if you fit, if you don't fit, whether it's financial or cultural, you're out like tomorrow.
Yeah.
And all the talk of family and how well everybody treats each other, that at some point it has to end because it is a business. And I think that's the harsh reality that the Thunder really face here, is that Kevin Durant loves Oklahoma City. He did walk the streets of Moore, Oklahoma after the tornado came through there. He did make the movie about Thunderstruck, right? Where he is the same backpack wearing guy.
He's got his restaurant in Bricktown.
He's got a restaurant in Bricktown, right? Like, I mean, if he is that guy, and yet when it comes down to it, I really believe that he will go where he thinks he has the best chance to win. And so it's a sobering reality, but it's also transparent. I mean, if the Thunder win this year, then he stays. If the Thunder lose early, or if they don't seem like they fit together right, if Billy Donovan doesn't work out, if Sam Presti's vision for this team doesn't work out, he'll look elsewhere. I mean, that's just flat out what it is, and I think that's the modern NBA. You can see all the talk of family and all the talk of culture. It goes only so far.
Yeah, and it's in a weird way. I think the Thunder are fine with that. I think they would if they know that Durant is choosing strictly on winning and where he thinks he can win in the future. I think they're confident he'll choose the Thunder because of the young core behind him. They I know Sam Presti loves Billy Donovan and thinks he'll have a great connection.
Yep.
You mentioned Monty Williams. He's already has a very strong connection with Monty Williams. So if the Thunder could be guaranteed Durant would choose off winning, which to me and you kind of seems like he may do that. I think the Thunder have a strong feeling he'll stay, but we'll see a lot of that.
Well, they have a strong feeling, but it's just what happens on the court. I mean, look, I've been covering the Clippers for the past few years, and if you would have told me back when they traded for Chris Paul that they still wouldn't have gotten out of the second round 4 years into this, I would have thought you were crazy. What do you mean they haven't gotten out of the second round? I mean, I think the Thunder probably has the deepest, best team that they've had in a long, maybe ever. I mean, if you think about where guys are in their prime, but I mean, they won 60 games the year after they traded Harden, and Patrick Beverley runs into Westbrook's knee.
Yep.
The next year, Serge Ibaka gets hurt in the playoffs. They rally back against the Spurs, and then there's this crazy Game 6. I mean, it's just the NBA. Like, you can be set up to win and still not win. And look at all the dynasties that sort of, go ask Mike D'Antoni about that one, right? Go ask Steve Nash how he feels. Karl Malone, John Scott. I mean,
those great Kings teams.
Yeah, I mean, Vlade Divac still can't believe he hit the ball straight to Robert Horry. I mean, it's like when you look at the history of the NBA, it's littered with great teams, great dynasties that never were. And if the Thunder, when we head into this season, that's what you got to feel this year. As much as there's nothing you can do about it except put your head down and run and win and play, and that is what the stakes are.
Yeah, you've covered a lot of stars, in your career. Durant and Westbrook. What's the uniqueness to them? What have you found? You enjoy, don't enjoy about talking, covering them.
Well, I'll say this about Kevin Durant. I've always had a really good relationship with him. And every time he comes to LA, I make sure to go to shoot around, and we have a big long talk at UCLA and or before games at Staples Center. And what I've really felt from him over the last few years is this dawning reality of how big of a platform he really has. I think he did grow up as this backpack wearing kid who didn't really know about himself and his place in the NBA. I remember last year I had this great conversation with him after the Donald Sterling situation happened. Thunder was playing the Clippers in that second round, and he said, this has been going on for a little while, and nobody's asking me what I thought of it. And it wasn't a failure on the Thunder media. It was just sort of like he wasn't like everyone in the league was getting asked about it, and yet because they had that epic series with Memphis in the first round, Durant really didn't get asked about the Sterling situation. And he had just won an MVP award, and it was like, you're the reigning MVP. I really want to know what you think about this, right? And it's sort of, there's this coming of age that you've seen with Kevin Durant over the last 3 or 4 years, just kind of not only feeling himself, but recognizing like, wow, I matter in this league now. And it takes me back to, Royale Ivy telling me how Durant didn't even learn to drive until he was 18, right? He didn't even comb his hair when he was at Texas. All he did was play basketball. I mean, I talked to his high school coach, and he goes, we're at Oak Hill. It's up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Like, it's just, there's nothing to do except for play basketball. I mean, you kind of get this sense that this is a guy who's been very singularly focused on basketball. And now, over the last 2-3 years, partially, because of his relationship with Rock Nation and Jay-Z and understanding that this is a business. He is an international superstar. You cannot just let this stuff happen to you. You have to take control of your life and your career. Manage your own voice in your career. That's where Kevin Durant is right now. And I think that's what's swirling inside of him every single day. It's interesting to me to watch because he's usually so open, and this year, as you know, he's been very determined to put a wall up and not talk about things.
Yeah.
I think it's unrealistic. I think no matter what, I mean, I was joking around with him at media day, going, man, there's no such thing as living in a bubble this year. Like, it's going to happen to you no matter what. Like, stuff is going to come from all over the place. And not a week later, the incident with Stephen A. Smith happened. You know, it's just that is the reality now. That's what he's got to deal with.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's interesting. I think he's not going to open up and do one-on-ones and really go in depth with anything. I think any of that type of stuff will be on the Players Tribune. But I think he's not going to hide either. I think we saw that with the Stephen A. Smith, where I asked him, and he just said, you know what he said. You know, he started talking about him. You know, he's lying. And then I basically asked him, you know, how are you going to attack these this season? And he's like, ask me, and I'll answer. I don't think it'll be a long, drawn-out answer. I think he'll directly address it and then move on. So, you know.
I think his point of it also is just, you know, I'm not going to make a decision until July. And when you have the game taken away from you like he did last year when he was hurt, it sobers you. I mean, it really makes you realize how important every single game and every single season is. And, you know, there's a whole, as much as all of this is hanging over everyone, as much as they all are thinking about this every second of every day, there's still a season to be played. The Thunder can win this year.
A huge
season. And I think that's what's in his head right now. Is I've got to be disciplined. I have got to block all of this out as much as I possibly can, because nothing is promised beyond this year. Nothing's promised beyond this game. I mean, there's a guy who spent, you know, missed 55 games last year, and I think that's what he's thinking about when he says, "I want to block this out." It's too important to spiral on him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy who's got to be worried about his health and winning it all, and you know, finally getting over the hump. So it makes sense, and it's tough because of the media age we live in, where you know we want to know, we want to ask questions. You know, we can't not look ahead because everything is kind of ties into where he is in the future. But from his perspective, why would you look ahead? You know, why are you thinking about July when you know you're really determined about, you know, mid-June is where you should be looking, which is that, you know, potentially winning your first title. So this season, any storylines you're following? I mean, just to kind of wrap up, I know you got to go soon. So, you know, what storylines across the league, Thunder-wise, are you following, and kind of how do you see this thing playing out?
Well, I think the Western Conference is even tougher this year than it was last year, right? You see last year was historically tough, and this year I think it's even more. I mean, it's like San Antonio got better. Golden State got better, if you can even say that.
Clippers got better, I think.
The Clippers got better. I mean, you know, Dallas I think probably fell off, but I'm not counting them out either. They have the kind of team with a bunch of veterans with something to prove that could do some things. And you know, it'll be real interesting to see as we go forward which teams rise up, because I think that, you know, I'm not sure which team it's going to be, whether it's going to be Utah, whether it'll be Phoenix, but there's some young teams that can gel. I think Phoenix probably takes a step back. New Orleans takes a step forward. Right? Utah takes a step forward. The Lakers, I don't see it. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, I've been watching them. You know, I keep watching them. I listen for signs, but I think they're a little ways away still. And there's nothing, you know, it's
young
just
talent, but like you mentioned, a couple years away.
I mean, listen, we our promos on the radio out here in LA. It's Kobe and the kids.
Kobe and the kids, wow.
Kobe and the kids. That is what it is right now.
And Roy Hibbert just kind of stumbling around.
Oh man, I don't understand. I don't understand how they win this year, but we'll leave it hanging in the air like that.
Yeah, right.
Because I think it's been a great NBA season. I think it's going to be a crazy season, though, as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline and teams start to say, are we in or out this year? And who are we in and out on as we go forward into the summer of 2016? Like, that TV money hangs in the air and will affect the balance of power in the NBA for years to come, because you know, there's all these teams that can go get Kevin Durant that have an opportunity to go get him, but there's also teams that if you get $20 million in your pocket in one summer and you miss on the big guys, that $20 million is burning a hole in your pocket.
Yep.
You don't want to be sitting there with $20 million and no one to spend it on.
Well,
and so there's going to be some outrageous contracts that are signed this next summer, but there's also going to be some completely outrageous trades that are made with teams that realize they're not going to get free agents, and so thus they have to go and trade for somebody who's making that kind of money.
Yeah. And you know, it's really is going to be a fascinating season with everything looming, and I'm excited because I feel like I'm covering the most interesting team from a storyline standpoint with Donovan and everything we've talked about today with the Durant and all that. And you were around them a little bit. I've been around them, obviously the last few weeks too. They feel very refreshed. They feel, to me, if they can stay healthy, they have this kind of revenge mentality from last year, from the past three, the injuries, everyone finally being that core together. I think if they can stay healthy, they're going to come out, really ramped up. So you were around them for a little. Did you kind of feel that refreshed mentality?
I felt it, but I also, I've seen so many teams where you feel that in the air and you think that because, we're writers and we see storylines and we think we know kind of what's going on, right? But nothing ever, you never know. There's so many things, it could just be personality issues. It could be, an injury at the wrong time. It's going to take some time for that core to learn how to play together again. Durant and Westbrook have had their best seasons. They haven't really played together in 2 seasons. First Westbrook was out, then Durant was out. As much as they've been around, they haven't really played together. And so I think that, we all write these storylines of, they're saying, revenge, the refreshed of this. Yeah, but the reality is, when they get on the court, they still got to make it work. And that's why, Billy Donovan's got a heck of a job put out for him.
Year 1, rookie head coach. Yep. All right, Ramona, again, you wrote this great story about the Thunder. It's not only in the ESPN, the magazine. You said October 16th. It went online Monday morning, this morning, today that we're talking. So fans, anyone listening, you should go on and read that. And, really, we thank you for coming on and talking, giving us a national perspective on the local team, as Sam Presti would say. So have a good day, and, we'll see you, I'm sure, a lot this season with, this interesting team to follow.
Pull-up jumper off the rim, and the Thunder win! All right, come on, let's sing the Thunder song. When you hear the sound of thunder, don't you get too scared. Just grab your Thunder buddy and say these magic words.